Welcome back to The Key. I'm so excited to be having this conversation today with my friend Amy Jo Hamilton. You guys, if you don't know her, you will be so thrilled after this conversation that you do. And if you do, this is just going to go a little bit deeper into everything that she is doing in her career. And she's just crushing it. I'm so excited to have this conversation. Let's just start with, you're the owner and founder of the Balanced Child Method. We're going to get into all of what that means. But I just feel like you're inspiring, you're real, you are magnetic. And I just am so excited for you to share a lot more about how you got to where you are. So welcome.
Wow, thank you so much. I feel so like, I don't even know how to follow that up.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, when you're thinking about describing a friend, I'm like, equal part heart and powerhouse. Like, you have started this business and this journey, I think, very much from the center of you, but you are a boss. I mean, so we'll get into all this because I think part of what I love in these conversations is exploring, what is that, right? Like, how can I do something that is like something that I feel from my core, but also, I've got to like grow this and I have to scale this and I have to make big decisions. And so you're doing, I think, both amazingly well. So let's just get into it. All right. So before we get into all the new accolades and everything that's going on, lots of bright lights and attention on everything Amy Jo is doing, I want to go back to the beginning because I think there might be some people on here who aren't quite sure what business you're running. So let's start with, what is the Balanced Child Method and how do you explain it to someone that you're meeting for the first time?
Yeah. So we are a traveling kids yoga business that not only provides yoga and workshops for children, but their entire support networks. So when I started the business, I was doing it by myself. And one of the things that I got to do, though, was I was doing yoga classes for parents and caregivers, and then also getting to build these relationships with teachers and daycare employees while I was teaching the kids yoga. And they were saying, like, this is amazing and incredible what you're doing, but you only get 30 minutes a week. Like, how can we take some of this into every day, into our classrooms, into our homes? And so that was what was so important to me, was how can we give not only the kids, but the people that are shaping them, these little bite-sized things that they can do around mindfulness, around movement, around breath work that didn't overwhelm them and didn't overwhelm the kids, but really started to lay this foundation of, like, I can feel my emotions, I can understand my emotions, I can learn to react or not react to my emotions, I can understand that my breath is a really powerful tool. Just these really like natural things for kids that as we get older, we kind of forget or push down. So it was just bringing that back up in everyone. So I know that's kind of a long explanation of what we do, but so we started in daycares. We're now in over 50 daycare and childcare centers in Central Ohio.
Amazing.
Teaching almost 100 classes a week, which is just crazy. And then we are in now public and private elementary schools. So we're in all of Upper Arlington after-school programs, Wellington, Columbus Academy, talking to some other ones. And then you'll see us throughout town and libraries, parks and rec, summer camps, you name it. We want to be there with your kids, with you. So yeah, it's been really fun.
How did you start the idea? Like, was it you being a mom? Was it like you loving yoga and knowing kids needed to know this? Like, where did that little like thing come from that you're like, this is like, we need this, kids need this? Like, what was that?
So I'll try to make this short, but it started when I was doing my 200 hour. I was in a group with mainly college students, and all of these kids were like, I'm doing this because I'm stressed, because I have anxiety, because I have trauma, whatever it was. And I was so glad they were, but I was like, you are in college. This is supposed to be the best time of your life. And I was kind of like this mother hen to them. And about halfway through my training, I found out I was pregnant with twins, and I had a little boy at home. So like my mama bear was like coming out big time, and everyone was just like, you need to teach kids. Like, you just have this, like, your class is like a warm hug. And I was like, okay, that sounds cool and fun. And so I just thought I would teach some kids classes at studios. And then as I kind of got into it, a friend of mine opened a daycare, and she's like, well, we're going to have YouTube teach. And I was like, no, you're not. So I left the daycare, and my son was going 1 day a week, and I was teaching yoga there, and it just kind of started to snowball. And I fell in love with it. The kids fell in love with it. Other schools started to hear about it. And it was like, okay, this is a thing. And this was pre-pandemic. So this was before, like, most people, unless you were in the yoga world, were kind of like, what are you doing? And yoga for kids was not a thing.
When you first had the idea, so now you're realizing there's a need, and how do I turn this into a business? So did it start with that one daycare? Was it a little like trial by fire? Let's see how this goes. Or did you already have in your mind how big this could get?
No. So when I first started, I just thought it was going to be this fun little hobby, get me out of the house, get my son out of the house, do something with him. And then when the next set of schools brought us in, they were growing. And that's when they were like, you're already teaching a couple days a week with us now at this point. Like, how do you grow with us? And I was like, okay, this can be something. And then that's when it really got, though, I wanted this to be bigger than just the yoga classes, like, which is so important. Like, I always hate just saying just the yoga classes, but I knew there was something deeper and so much more that this could be.
So when you're bringing the offering, I just want you to explain it so everyone understands. There is the component of the actual yoga, but then what are you providing to teachers, caregivers, students? Is there like supplemental, like workbooks or information, or how are you encouraging, this to not be a 1 day a week activity, but to like really kind of bring this into an element of your everyday life?
Yeah. So in the schools, we're building those relationships with those teachers and all of that. But then also we took it a step further a couple years ago, and we are certified by the state of Ohio that all of our workshops for the teachers count as continuing education. So that was huge for us, because not only did we hear from the schools, like, we want these kind of workshops, we want this kind of training for our teachers, but this just added another element that, like, they could be like, okay, this also counts as continuing education, which is huge.
Yeah.
So teachers not only get to come and learn and take time for themselves, which is so important, but then they also get that added benefit of, I'm hitting my continuing ed hours, which is huge. So we try to get, the schools we're in to at least do those workshops once a quarter. Sometimes it's, more than that. Sometimes we'll get to go into staff meetings or their monthly meetings, which is awesome. But my instructors also, like, I cannot say enough about them. The relationships they build with these teachers, I think, is the most important thing about the business, because they're giving those teachers little tidbits and they don't even realize it sometimes. So that's really, really cool. And then for the parents, we're getting ready. We had tried to pilot this right before COVID. And we're bringing it back this year, but our workshops for caregivers. So stay tuned for that, but we'll be doing some of those in person and virtually.
Love that. I mean, this resource, I feel like, in my career, we have to take CE. And when you can find a continuing ed that is super applicable, but what you just said, it's also then there's a relationship that you're forming with likely whoever's teaching that and making you truly better on the job. I mean, that's like the best kind of CE that you can take. Cause I think a lot of times we're checking boxes when we have to do these things. So kudos to you for making like a real CE class that make them better. You're empowering these people to be better in their daily life with the students, right? I mean,
and one of our things is we want to pour back into them, right? Our teachers are one of our most amazing assets in this country.
Yeah.
So just pouring back into them too, because like you said, making them better people. If they show up to your kid's school with, a calmer, more balanced life, like an attitude, like that is just going to radiate.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. Okay, so let's talk about a big accolade that you got this year from Goldman Sachs. I want you to walk us through the process, because I know this was intense, and they picked you. And I just love not only when a business in Columbus, Ohio gets picked for something like this, but when it's someone that you just admire that's doing really cool stuff. You got to talk about it. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, so Goldman Sachs does this program called 10,000 Small Businesses, which now it's up to 17,000 and growing. This is the 7th year they've done it in Columbus, but this was the most intense. And they said the most competitive, I guess.
Yeah.
So it is a big process. The initial application, I think, was, I don't know, 50 plus pages. And then you go in for interviews. And I got chosen to be part of this 3-month program that really is like a business school for entrepreneurs. And it was, over 20 plus hours a week on top of you running your business. But we were trained and taught by some of the coolest people in Columbus that are professors, that are entrepreneurs themselves, that have partnered with Goldman Sachs to help business owners take their business to the next level. So this isn't for people that are just starting now or people that are thinking about a business. This is someone that is like, I think you have to be in at least 2 or 3 years, proven certain financials, and then I want to grow. Mm-hmm. And then they take it and teach you how to scale your business, which is really, really cool. And like the big thing that was so eye-opening is so many entrepreneurs that kind of like me, like you start, you're not like, you wake up and like, I'm going to start this huge business. Like it continues to happen. And you don't get a lot of time to work on your business. You're working in your business. Mm-hmm. And I think that was such an eye-opening thing for me. Like if you want to grow, you have to work on your business, and you have to like switch that mindset from just being, this business owner to a CEO of your business. And I think that was just a huge mindset shift for me that they provided. And then just being in a room of 30 other entrepreneurs that wanted this as much as you did. I mean, that energy itself was incredible. And the connections and the network I built from that of just like, I can call any one of those people now and say like, I need a vent, or I need this, or I need that. And like, that was just so cool.
It's like the best MBA program you could ever jump into.
Yeah,
that's
100%.
So great. Can you share maybe like one of the best pieces of advice you got during that process, especially related to scaling? Because I do think this is something when you're in that moment, it's like, I think I want to do this, but then it's like, what am I doing?
I think the CEO mindset was a huge, I guess more than a piece of advice, but like getting into that mindset was huge. And then also having an exit plan. So no one ever talks about that. And I thought it was so interesting. Like you don't, it's like, you're like, why would we talk about the exit plan? But when you look that far out and plan for that, whether that's, giving it to one of your children, whether that's selling it, whether that's just closing it down when you die, like it's done. Mm-hmm. None of those are wrong, but it also then helps you kind of fill in that middle piece of like, what do I want from this? How big do I want this?
Yeah.
And that is, and how do I need to run my business? Because if, depending on what you want to do with it, there's a lot of differing ways to scale and different ways to approach it. So that was really cool to kind of like sit and think about. And I always joke, but my daughter Rosie is always like, I'm going to take over the business. And like when I really sat and thought with that though, like I was like, that's really cool to think about. Like,
oh my gosh, yes.
To build a business that then you can give to one of your children, whether it ends up being Rosie or one of the other ones or all three of them, you put a whole different kind of perspective on it too, like, or if, one of my friends in the class was like, no, this is just done with me. I am the brand. No one can replicate it. It's done with me. And so for her, like she has an idea of how she wants to build and scale, but there's a cap to that kind of too.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool because that's what she wants. Yeah. And like I said, there's no right or wrong, but when you kind of get into that mindset too, or if you do want to sell, then you really have to have those financials buttoned up and like exactly. You have to make really hard decisions.
Like as you grow
yeah. To make sure that someone's going to want to buy it. So exactly. it was like a cool, different way to think about it. And almost like, when they say you get to like hear your eulogy before you die, like it was kind of like that. You get to make the game plan. Yeah. So it got me just thinking bigger and more long-term, and it was pretty cool.
Those are great. I mean, this actually relates to quite a bit of what I feel like we talk about in our business in real estate. It's on your business, in your business. That's a real struggle, especially when people hit like busy season, right? Because you almost forget that you have to do the on the business or like the in the business, like it starts to, wean down. But I don't know if it's fear or unknown or just defining something. I think people are scared to death to do an exit plan. But what you're describing to me, it gives you like really cool guardrails, right? And almost it gives you better clarity for whatever it is that you're going after. And we shouldn't be afraid of that.
No.
I mean, that's a great thing for hopefully a listener on here can take that and explore that. Cause I think we shouldn't be afraid of what that looks like at the end, but like we should be making a plan for that. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah. It was just a total different like mindset shift too. And like I said, it's almost like, wow, like I'm building to something bigger than you're even like, it gets you thinking way even bigger than you probably were. So I definitely like, at first I was like, this is super weird. Like, why are like, you know what I mean? Like a little morbid, but like, no, when you really sit and lay it out and think about it, like I said, like there's no right or wrong. And you might end up switching and that's fine. But I think when we always talk about like, I have a year plan or I have a 5-year plan, this gave you a 50-year plan.
Yeah. It's like, what do you really see?
And some people were like, I don't want this business for the next 50 years. Yeah. And that's fine. That's then okay. Like, so what do I need to do so I can retire at 50 or I can be out of this business by 65 or I don't want to give it to my kids. Like whatever that is, it is really cool to think about and give you that clarity.
Yeah. Clarity is it really is everything. That's great. All right. Let's jump into like that messy middle, all of the stuff that you've been in and navigating through. I think a lot of times it's so easy for us to, it's like the Instagram, just look at the pretty stuff and it's like, whoa, that was so easy. I know none of this is easy. But talk to us about a struggle. It could have been early on, could be now as you're trying to figure out how you want to scale this. Talk to us about a struggle that you got through and, how you got through it, but also like what made you most proud of that? Because I do think, I talk with my kids about this a lot. It's like, we need to lean into those like hard moments because on the end of it, I think you don't really know what you're pushing through at the time, but that's where you gain all the knowledge. So share one with us.
Oh yeah. I feel like we're going through it right now. Cause it's like, we came off of this really cool fall where I dug into the business so much and really got a lot of clarity. And not that I wasn't like paying attention. I worked in retail. So like I was paying attention to my financials, but like really just taking a microscope to things and starting to be like, how are we building the future of this? And now it's making some of those really hard decisions that you're like, this really sucks, but it's the right thing, but it sucks in the moment. And I think that really also sets apart really good business owners and really good entrepreneurs and really good leaders is when you can make those really hard decisions, when you have to be like, okay, I don't want to do this. This is not the decision I want to make. This is not what I thought was going to happen, but it's the right decision. And when I feel so uncomfortable and so like, oh, I know big things are happening. So I just have to sit with it, which is also so hard. Like sitting, like you said, sitting with those like feelings of, and sometimes you don't know you're in it, but I know myself now pretty well that I do. And it's like being able to sit with that though, and not overreact to it. I know this is kind of vague, but it's like, we just had to make a really, really hard decision last Friday and it was almost made for us, but like I had to put the final like, okay. And then I was like, oh shit, what do we do now? And then I just had to regroup and be like, I have to trust the process. To your point, like, when you get knocked down or when you lose that game and you're like, oh, it's all over now. It really isn't. Like, what can you learn on the other side of it? And I think that's where up until this point, I kept saying this in Goldman Sachs, I'm lucky enough that like everything just kind of happened. And they're like, don't say that because it's not luck, it's hard work. And it is, but my business has grown organically. And now we're to the point of, yes, we're still going to have organic growth, but it's going to be a lot more intentional. And I think when you're in the organic growth stage, you're like, everything is great. Everything is amazing. And you say yes to a lot of things that aren't amazing because you put those rose-colored glasses on. So now I'm taking those rose-colored glasses off and being like, okay, we're growing intentionally. And yes, maybe like I have to say yes or no to things. But again, I see that path or that vision forward, and what's going to come out on the other side is going to be bigger and better.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, here's the thing. I love the word intentionality, intention. I love that because I do think maybe it's just where I personally am in life, but I feel like you can go through a phase where you can say yes to everything and it feels like maybe that's what we're supposed to do. But when you're really saying yes to all those, you also realize like how much of those aren't real yeses. But I think you have to go through those seasons because then you get to a point where you do refine it and you're like pruning the tree and you're like really establishing like what this is. And it doesn't mean that those yeses were for nothing. I think it kind of puts you into the place of like, now I have to be very intentional with a yes or a no, and not everybody gets a yes. And that's hard. I know that's hard, but I also think people respect it. And I think when you do it, when you're truly doing that from your heart, I think people understand. Like, I really think they understand. So good for you for, I don't know. I think whatever your exit plan is, I don't think you can do that without getting super intentional. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you can't do one without the other.
And I think like, throughout the Goldman Sachs process, even like learning to say no is actually a lot of times so much more impactful and useful than saying yes.
Yeah. We were kind of joking about like this, just conversations about boundaries. And I do think, you getting into a room full of people, and I say this to anybody who's listening, it's like sometimes you just got to find some people to surround yourself with. And maybe you know them, maybe you don't. Maybe you have to start, creating sort of your board of directors where you can really bounce ideas off of people. But the whole thing to me is, everybody is going to have these questions and these moments in their business. But like, if you're surrounded with people who are just telling you what you want to hear, nothing happens. Like, nothing happens. For you to get into rooms where you can finally be challenged and you can see something from another perspective and maybe even say like, ooh, that is one ingredient I've got to put in my business. I think the no's, learning how to say no is a complete sentence, but I had to learn it because I was saying yes to everything and my bandwidth was awful. So nothing was really getting my attention, you know? So I think if you're willing to, you can learn from all of that and you grow and you can make different decisions as you push through that. But I'm excited for whatever it is that you're making hard decisions about. I also want to say the hard decision. I see this in leadership a lot. It's just, I think it's really easy to continue to like push the pencil, right? Just push it. It'll go away. But ultimately, when it's your business, like, it doesn't go away. So it's like you could make that decision now, or it can just be this weight that continues to sit on you. And at some point you still have to make this decision. It's like leaning into that discomfort I think it's really inspiring because everybody knows what that feels like. And everybody has that moment of, I don't want to say it's ick, but it is uncomfortable and it's tough. I mean, those are really hard moments when it's your baby, right? Yeah. But it doesn't go away. So good for you for like, let's make the decision, let's figure this out and let's move on. Because to me, that's good leadership. It's like, you're not avoiding it. You're not procrastinating on that. And I think everyone who works with you respects that because I don't know. I think some people don't want to be making those decisions, but when you're working with somebody who is not afraid to make those decisions and you're creating a culture where it's like, we're going to support that and see what happens, that is how you get somewhere,
Yeah.
So,
and I think like we learned in Goldman Sachs too, you have to know yourself to run a business. And as much as people are like, I know myself, like, you need to really sit and like know what your gut is telling you, know what these things, these signals for yourself, because I mean, some of these decisions I could have made a lot earlier in my business and would have been a lot better off. But it's like, listen to your gut, listen to that, because to that point, sometimes too, when you keep saying yes, those are just sucking the energy out of you and they're distracting you from what you could have been doing. And I think that was so eye-opening to me of like, wow, if I would have just been like, we're done, you know what I mean? What other doors would have opened? And the scarcity mindset just has to go. Like there is enough.
Yes.
And for everyone. And I know I'm doing something that a lot of people are not doing, but still like, and I think that was, I mean, we had 4 or 5 bakeries in the Goldman Sachs program and they're all different and unique. And there's a place for all, I mean, there's a million bakeries in Columbus, but for all of them. And I think that's one thing too, as an entrepreneur, like you have to get out of that scarcity negative mindset because you are just going to set yourself back years and like, there's no time for it. And to that point of getting in the room with those people that are going to push you, like, again, it is hard. Sometimes you hear things you don't want to hear, but you have to listen. And I think like that's where I was like, I am going to listen to everything these people say. I might not take all of it, but like, if you at least listen and sit with it, it could get you, you know, something else open. Like, you know, and I had off the wall things people were suggesting me to do. But then if you find that way that it evolves, it can be really cool. Or it can be like, you know what? I've now heard from 100 people that I should have said that no. Like, okay.
Yeah. You're like,
enough.
this tracks.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, here's the thing. 'Cause the abundant mindset, have you read Mindset by Carol Dweck?
No.
Oh my gosh. It is so good. I had to read it. I didn't have to read it, but I read it because it was in like this selling course and I feel like it's written so well. So pick it up. But there's different chapters on like, you know, yes, business, but all these other ways that mindset, you know, affect us in relationships, family, marriages, like all of this, like the way that you approach scenarios like that, it is so, it's very telling, I think, about someone who can just be open-minded, who really can listen. Like you said, it doesn't mean you have to take all of those suggestions, but you're really listening. You're not thinking of a response as somebody's telling this, like you're really listening. That is real growth. And I think growth is really, it's hard because you do have to go inward and you have to look at all those things. But what you just said about you've got to know who you are, so you got to know those values, then you've got to be open-minded to really listen to other people who have really great experiences. And then you know how to filter this out. With an abundant mindset, you can make those steps forward and like, doesn't mean that you're taking away from someone else. It doesn't mean that, I don't know. It feels so good when I like visualize that because you're championing your own business, but you're also celebrating whoever is doing something maybe close to what you're doing, maybe on polar opposite, but you see it and you're rooting for them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of what I feel like this entrepreneurship, when you can really find your people, it feels huge. So freaking good.
So good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, now let's talk about like a win. Get out of the struggle bus. What is something that you feel like either a win or a moment that just gave you this momentum? Like share a specific thing with us so we know, like, it doesn't have to be big, but it could be a big thing. But what was that for you, and how did it make you feel, and where did you go with it?
I think, and this is recent because we just had a Scout Guide launch, but when I got in the Scout Guide and my kids were there with me, because this was always like when I started this too, I was like, oh, this is going to be this thing. I can take my kids along with me and they can see this journey really for them. But then when that happened and they were part of it, but I was also like, wow, people are like, you're a business. This is like, you are an actual business. Like,
this isn't a hobby anymore.
Yeah, this isn't a hobby anymore. That was like, wow, this is really cool. Because like I said, it wasn't just this like, okay, this is this fun thing for me and my kids to do and hopefully make a little extra money. Like this was like, okay, this is a business and we have a lot of important work and a lot of kids we've got to reach and a lot of families and educators. So that was a huge just kind of turning point. And even just getting that, recognition, people just kind of looked and were like, oh, okay, like this
This
is
is
something.
real.
Yeah, this is real. And once you kind of are like, oh, okay, this is, over that's really cool. So, that was a big shift in my mindset. And then like the Goldman Sachs was kind of that next, like, okay, it's go time. It's time. This is big time.
So those two moments, what kind of, I don't know if I want to say confidence, but let's go with that. Like, what has it unlocked in you? Like, the validation, I think, is an important thing to talk about, because I do, even if we're not seeking it, I do think we want to know, like, okay, I'm on the right track, or, you're a high achiever and you're just like, I want to know that I'm doing the right thing. So did it give you some added confidence? Did it just give you like, I'm going the right direction? What did that unlock for you?
It definitely did that. But I think the other thing that unlocked for me was, I think I was looking at this a little bit differently in the fact of I was making decisions for individual schools or individual instructors or individual people, because I was running my business all heart, which is awesome. And with the kids yoga business, I mean, how can you not? But I think what Goldman Sachs did, and even as I kind of had to switch my mindset, was like, if I'm not in business though, I'm not helping anybody.
Right.
So I had to be like, okay, like I still care about all of these people and all these relationships, but I now have a bigger duty to make this decision as a CEO than as their friend. And it's hard, but it's also really freeing too. And it gives me the confidence to be like, okay, let's go. Let's get those running shoes on. Let's see what this can be. And there are going to be people that will stay along for the ride, and there are going to be people that aren't. And again, they're all going to sting, like, because this was me when I started it. Like, and I think that's also, as an entrepreneur, it's really hard when you are the brand and you built this baby, and then it's now like, okay, I got to kind of almost like they said, like, can you step away from your business for 2 weeks and can it run? And that's my goal this year, is even actually a month would be great, team, just FYI.
Love it.
But it kind of, again, being up here and like looking down versus like in the weeds of it. And
yeah, elevate to the CEO.
Yeah.
You are the CEO. That's awesome. All right. I want to talk about impact, because I think we're getting there. You clearly you're changing lives. I mean, which I think probably fundamentally that's maybe what gets you up in the morning, because this is more than yoga. This is more than just a business. There's something much bigger there. Do you have like a story about, maybe it's a caregiver, maybe it's a teacher, maybe it's a child, like something that just like really sticks with you, that you're like, this is why I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing?
Oh my gosh, I have a million. But my favorite one was, I was teaching in this school, and I don't get to teach regularly anymore, but I was,
because you're a CEO.
Because I'm a CEO. And there was this little boy that was coming to the class, and he had an aide, and he was pretty nonverbal. And he would just sit in the back with her and not really pay attention. And I would be like, oh, I know like he's not going to have the same experience as the other kids, but I wanted him to get something from it. And one day we were doing hot chocolate breath, and I said, okay, guys, like, how many of you love hot chocolate? And they like all raised their hand, and like his eyes kind of perked up, and I was like, oh. And then like we started doing it, and just like he got so excited, started making like some verbal noises, and was participating. And I was like, it just clicked. And like, we're doing this silly hot chocolate breath, which is just not a silly breath. It actually has a lot of deep meaning behind it, but like we're having fun with it. And this kid, it connected with him. And I was like, this is when I was like, we are doing something way deeper here than what even people see. Because these kids, and like, you guys, I mean, if we could just let kids rule the world, we'd be in a much better place. But just during COVID, I had videos sent to me from parents that like, I would have kids in the class that I didn't even think were paying attention, let alone like absorbing anything I was teaching. and they were teaching full classes to their families during COVID. And I was like, at like 4 years old, like it's incredible. And I just keep thinking, like, if this generation goes into their college days with all of these tools in their toolbox, that they know how to use their breath, that they understand that, you know, their emotions, they know where to go or what to do, or to sit with these feelings, or to meditate, or to just breathe in general, like, it is going to change the world.
Yeah.
It is going to. And I mean, I see it alone even with my kids. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, I've equipped them too much, because like it comes back to haunt me. You know, like they're like, you told me to tell you my feelings, and I'm like, go to bed, not right now. Like, I really
Tell
want
me tomorrow.
Yeah, tell me tomorrow. Or like they'll say, you know, my son will always say to me, I need to go have my time and calm my body down. And I'm like, I would have never said that at 9 years old. Like
amazing.
I wouldn't even known what to do to calm my body down. Like,
Yeah.
so, and just the amount of stories, like I love when my teachers send me stories, because, and it's what keeps all of us every day. Like there are hard days doing this, because it's kids, it's a lot of kids, and we can't spend as much time as we'd want with each individual kid. But the stories that come in are just, I should write a book, because it'd be like chicken soup for the soul, 2026 version.
Maybe that needs to be on your.
Yeah, maybe we need to bring that back.
Maybe you need to bring that book into your intentionality,
Yeah.
right? I love that. I think I find it so interesting, like when we talk about impact, because I think, you know, I just feel like society now, everybody wants that immediate gratification. Like you want to see the growth like yesterday. But with what you're doing, I just feel like you have planted so many seeds with people that it's going to be really fun to see what happens. Like you just said, like when these kids a decade from now, you know, like you for sure are in their lives. And I don't know. I don't think they're going to forget that. I think, you know, for them to be able to find these tools at a young age that help them, you know, really propel forward through tough situations that they're going to have for the rest of their lives. You taught them that. I mean, that is a very, very cool thing that I just feel like teachers in general, like educators in general, you don't even know like how much of an impact you're making until maybe they come tell you 10, 20, 30 years later, but it's happening. I mean, that's why I'm like, God, keep going, Amy Jo. You gotta
like
just keep going.
kids that you don't think you're even making a difference, those are the ones you're making the biggest difference on. That's what I always tell my teachers. I'm like, I know sometimes it can be frustrating, even for parents, you know, even for those teachers that are with these kids every day, all day long. Like, I promise you, you're making a difference. Mm-hmm. And like you just being that safe person for them. Like that's the other thing I tell my instructors too. Like we are another safe person for these kids.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, in most of the schools and the communities we're in, our children are, you know, all well to do, but we're like a safe, warm hug. Like, not that they don't have all the things in the world, and not that they don't have great parents and great teachers, but sometimes you just need that person that connects with you and, you know, just gives you a little bit more than someone else. And it's really cool.
Yeah. It's awesome. All right. Let's talk about what you dream of next. Let's think a year from now. So we'll do this again next year at this time. What would you love to be celebrating a year from now?
Oh, I have lots of big plans. I like, and that's the thing, going through Goldman Sachs, we had to create a growth plan, and I had 3 big things on mine. And then after it, I was like, why did I put 3? Like, why do I have to be an overachiever? Which one we have put on hold till next year.
That's great. Look at that. You're like, I can't do them all.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the big thing that we're focusing on this year is really bringing in the whole method to our community. And like I said, really getting the educators and caregivers involved, big time on caregivers, because that's the piece of it that I think is just going to be game changing for so many parents and so many kids. But we got to start connecting those dots and taking the kids, like, and helping them be able to take that home and use that in their homes with their parents. And I think so many parents, you know, you can look at the internet all day long, like you said, and Instagram, and it looks, you know, like, here's all these fun things we should be doing through the snow day. And you're like, I just am going to pull my hair out. So we want to help parents to like realize, like, you do not have to be a 200-hour certified yoga. You don't have to have ever done a yoga class. Like, we want to give you very simple things that you can implement into your busy life that are going to change your day and your children's day. And I think that will just be, it's been a game changer for me as a parent and for my kids. And I am not perfect by any means. Like, I love when I take my kids to teach and they're like being little crazy people, and people
You're
come
like,
up to
I'm
me.
human.
Yeah. And they come up to me and they're like, that was just the best thing that I've ever seen. And I was like, well, I'm so glad you enjoyed it. But because I'm human too. And as much as I teach this and preach it, I do it about 90% of the time. But that's the piece that I think is just going to be so helpful, because if the kids are getting this in school, we're helping their teachers, we're pointing into their teachers, and then we start to pour to the parents and give the parents just a little bit more breathing room and a little bit more peace, a little bit more calm and balance. I think it's going to be huge.
Yeah, it's a full, like, truly, like, you're embodying the whole thing. I love that. I mean, you can't ignore the environment the kids go home to, right? And I mean, personally, as a busy working mom and a husband who also is crazy busy, to be able to learn some of those skills, even just for yourself, much less doing it to help your child too, that's huge.
And we want to be a safe space, because, like, I think the other thing is there's so much information coming at parents now, and so many diagnoses, and, you know, and everybody wants the best for their kids, but it can get so overwhelming. And we just want to be that safe place to be like, okay, do you have a question about your kids, you know, development? Is this normal? Is it other kids parents going through the same thing? Like, maybe they are staying up till 11 o'clock, and it doesn't mean you're a bad parent. It just means whatever that kid is, you know, maybe they're having some detachment issues, or maybe like whatever it is, or, you know, do I need to start talking to someone else to help me with my child and what we're going through? And again, that shouldn't have any stigma to it, and it shouldn't have any like judgment to it. So we want to be this place where parents can come and we can start the conversation about mental wellness too. Like, when we get to the point of like, okay, we have to, you know, be in a hospital, like, we don't want that point. We want to be as proactive as possible. And we want to give parents, again, that space to explore what they're going through with other parents too, because a lot of times we can just learn from each other. And also we can say, like, okay, like, your kid doing that is normal, and you're not a bad parent.
Right. Well, and just the space for a community to, like, for it to feel comfortable to ask those questions is really big. Because I think if you're a parent and you've been in those moments with the child who, you know, just mentally maybe isn't in a great place, it becomes all consuming as a parent. And it can be sometimes really hard to know where to go, what to listen to. So I think the fact that you're creating that community just with parents to be resources for each other, I think is just, it's beyond helpful, because you don't feel so alone. You know, you can feel super alone in those moments. That's awesome.
And I think so many parents also get in this point where they aren't taking care of themselves, and it almost feels selfish too. And we want to give them that space to be like, you know, like, when I am working out, or when I'm going to do something like this today and my kids are home with my mom, it's like, I want them to see, like, I have to take care and fill, you know, we always say that, but you really do. Because I'm going to come back to them a much better person when I left. So giving
it's
parents,
like the oxygen.
Yes,
you got to put our oxygen.
You really do. And like,
Yeah.
especially for moms, and especially when your kids are going through a hard time, that is really hard to do. But it's also showing that it doesn't take, hours and hours to do. It can take even seconds.
Yeah.
And it makes a big difference.
Love that. Okay. I normally do like a quick fire, but I want to do like, I do more of like a local thing, but I want to do a quick fire on like skills that you teach people. So go with me.
Okay.
Quick fire, just something like a real fast, whatever comes to mind first. You're talking about mindset. I know you help people with mindset. What is one quick mindset shift that you could tell somebody today to think about something differently if they're like carrying something around, or just something that maybe a question you get a lot?
The only person you should worry about opinion is yourself.
Love
Because
it.
if you worry about yourself.
Love it. One thing you wish you'd stop doing sooner?
Gossiping.
Ooh, that's a good one. One habit that changed everything?
Journaling.
I love that. Do you do a prompted journal?
Nope.
Did you start a prompted journal?
Nope.
No, you just write.
Mm-hmm.
I love
that. Just whatever. If anybody ever read it, they'd be like, what? ADHD, but it's fine.
It is fine.
Yeah.
You're getting it out. All right, some advice for someone who's listening. If they have a dream but maybe feel stuck, or they just feel like it's impossible, or where the heck do I start? What's step one?
Find one person, just one, that can be your cheerleader, your shoulder to cry on, your person you go and scream to. Go find that person that you know is going to say, get your ass out there and do it, and they're going to be there for you.
What do you wish you had believed sooner?
That I could do this.
Now you believe that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm like, duh. All right. Last one. How do you handle fear of judgment or failure when you're building this? If people are watching, how do you handle that?
It took me 40 years just in life in general. Like, I don't worry about it anymore. I mean, again, I'm human. Things sneak in. But I met a really good friend in Goldman Sachs. Her name's Annie from Bite This. If you don't follow her, you need to. But we connected instantly, and we're so different, but we're so like, and her just like badass. Like, I don't give two kahunas what you think. And I was like, give me all of that energy.
Yeah.
And really, it just helped me be like, yep, I already was moving toward that. But like, again, I'm just worried about what's in here.
Yeah. Let the rest go.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I could talk to you for like another hour. Thank you. Thank you so much for being on here. I think you're incredible. The work you're doing is so important. If you are not following Amy Jo, everything's in the show notes. Give her a follow. If you have kiddos in Columbus, look her up for classes, because I do think we're all looking for great resources for kids and families. And there's a gem sitting right here. Thank you so much.
This is so fun. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in. New episodes drop every Tuesday. Please subscribe and share with a friend so you don't miss the next conversation. I'm really excited to go on this journey with you. And until next time, remember, the key is in the details, and the journey is just as important as the destination.